Jewish Book Review, The Matzah Ball by Jean Meltzer.
She began at the closest department store. Forcing herself to ignore the many aisles of Christmas trees and ornaments, she hunted down the Hanukkah section, which was one sad little shelf display. Unless she was planning to write a book about Christmas envy, she'd have to keep
How
looking.
many times have I walked into a store like Target or Walmart and been assaulted with everything Christmas related? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, there's like 2 teeny tiny little shelves, or maybe an end cap of Hanukkah stuff, if we're lucky.
Toby always kept a stockpile of matzah in her apartment, not just because, like most Jewish homes, there was always some left over from Passover, but also because, like most folks of her generation, Toby had seen her fair share of war and tragedy, and matzah was the food for duress. Matzah was like the Jewish people this way, hardy and resilient. It could be kept for years, hidden away in a pantry, pulled out during times of economic uncertainty, or as a prescriptive for indigestion. Matzah was always there for you.
I remember watching a show called Doomsday Preppers, and in one episode, there was an Orthodox Jewish guy who had several years' worth of boxes of matzah in his stockpile. Matzah will outlast us all, probably.
Or Toby Greenberg would live free and fearless until the day God himself decided to take her, and even then, Jacob was certain she would put up a fight. Yeah, that's how everybody should, and in the process makes the world a darker place. Or we can be the type of person who spreads light. Better to be the shamash, one candle that lights all the others and brightens an otherwise dark world.
I think that is the ultimate message of Hanukkah, about lighting darkness and hope amidst uncertainty.
Chronic illness was not a moral failing, though some people has treated his mother like she was guilty of a crime. If only she would exercise more, eat better. She just needs to think positively, change her inner dialogue, meditate. Just like someone always had a friend who had been cured by seeing this one doctor. Everyone was always so quick to offer advice. Nobody just came over and did the laundry.
Yeah, I think that one is...
How long would it last? Rachel had no way of knowing. Chronic fatigue syndrome was the great decider. It had decided her career, where she traveled on vacation, with whom she could be intimate. It had influenced her relationships, stolen away friendships, and forced her to live in constant uncertainty, robbing her of any practical ability to plan for the future. It had deprived her of normal, the privilege of having a choice.
That one's definitely all about how chronic illness, mental or physical, can be the great decider and decide huge things like that.
Clip. Yes, Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt, his first love, the girl who broke his heart, challenged him. She forced him out of his comfort zone, leaving him questioning all his fiercely held beliefs. He loved that about her. And now, for the first time since that fateful summer at Camp Ahava, he was relying on her. Jacob offered up a silent prayer to the heavens and hoped she wouldn't let him down.
I think what makes a romantic partner ultimately is A, who you are, and B, also being supportive when you want to improve yourself.
Jacob scanned the long line of hopeful attendees waiting behind a blue velvet rope. These were people without tickets who had come early hoping to land an open spot. In truth, it would take a miracle for any of them to get in tonight. It wasn't just a numbers issue. Security had to be extra tight at an event like the Matzah Ball, where any psycho with a 4chan account and a penchant for anti-Semitism might show up.
Their very own childhood synagogue has since October 7th, they have had to replace all of the glass in the windows with bulletproof glass, keep the doors locked. I hope to holy hell they have a security person on premises. It was always a pain to get the tiny candles into their metal holders, and to keep them in place and not create a fire hazard. Jacob had to melt the bottom of each candle. Then, while still hot, he had to press it down into the metal holder, creating a seal. It was easy enough to do with steady hands for 1 or 2 candles. 8 candles was always a challenge. On the 6th candle, he burned his fingers. I've had to do that. Sometimes they will just not stay in the menorah no matter what you do.
Truth could be scary. Darkness might always endeavor to snuff out the light, but the strength of those who truly loved us would always push us forward. This was how we brightened an otherwise dark world. We filled it with truth and love and light.
I think I'm just going to leave you with that one, honestly. I don't know any other way to...
Your other half exists to make you better. She exists to complete something you lack, and vice versa. You challenge each other, like Havruta, 2 blades which always sharpen each other. But that's different than love, Jacob. In some ways it's more powerful, because only your bashert, your other half, can fill up what you lack and help you fulfill your destiny.
That's what a soulmate should be. They should make you better, make you want to be a better version of yourself. A few pages later. And yet, when he thought of that person, when he envisioned himself standing at the end of an aisle, a chuppah over his head, waiting for his bashert to walk down the aisle, he only saw Rachel. Rachel, his other half, his destiny. She was the shamash, the spark of light that set him ablaze and made him better. And isn't that the point anyway? We're not the norm. We're not typical. We're Jews. So let's put Judaism on fleek. Let's celebrate in the most outrageous and fabulous way possible what makes us different. That's a lesson we could all take from. The flames illuminated the room as the music began again, lifting into a swirl of 80s pop mixed with Sephardi rap. Surrounded by people she cared about, her world and her community, Rachel's authentic self shone as bright as the 8 flames dancing upon the menorah. Always be your authentic self. Always be who you are. Always be proud to be Jewish. And that's the end of the actual book. Here are some discussion questions towards the end of the book. Number 1. Though they were both raised in the Jewish faith, Rachel and Jacob had very different upbringings. How do you think their childhoods influenced their characters as adults? Number 2. Rachel's family is Jewish, but she loves Christmas. Have you ever had an affinity for a holiday or event that your family didn't celebrate? Number 3. What did you think of Rachel's decision to hide her career from her family for most of her adult life? Would you hide something of importance from your family if you felt they wouldn't understand it? Number 4. Rachel and Mickey are best friends since forever. How did you feel about the way their friendship was depicted in the story? Do you have a friend you're as close with as they are with one another? What has that friendship meant to you in your life? Number 5. Living with chronic illness has affected Rachel's life in almost every way imaginable. What, if anything, did you learn about myalgic encephalomyelitis, aka chronic fatigue syndrome? Number 6. Rachel feels frustrated that the more commonly known term for her illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, comes with a certain amount of stigma, and people don't take it seriously. Can you think of any other conditions that are treated similarly by the general public? Number 7. Both Rachel's mother and Jacob's bubby tend to feed or overfeed their loved ones. This is considered a common way to show affection in many cultures, including the Jewish culture. What are some traditions in your culture, and how are they expressed in your family? Number 8. Though Rachel and Jacob did not personally experience it, they are both influenced by the Holocaust in subtle ways. What are some ways in which that influence manifests itself? Are there any events in your family history that continue to influence you today, even though you did not directly experience them? Number 9. Rachel quotes Midrash saying, God only works through broken vessels. What do you think Rachel means when she says this? How do Rachel and Jacob both come to accept and create meaning out of their brokenness? Number 10. On Hanukkah, Jews use a shamash, one flame that lights all the candles on their Hanukkah. What are some of the ways that the characters and the Matzah ball act like a shamash, spreading light to others? Feel free to answer these questions in the comments below. That was The Matzah Ball, a novel by Jean Meltzer, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. Bye-bye!